Welcome to the PR Maven podcast. In today's episode, my guest is Shane Lakita, who's a podcaster and host of Coffee Talk with Liquid Shano 1973. Shane Lakita is a Navy veteran of 11 years, and he has a wife of 18 years, a son of 15, and a dog of 7. Shane started his podcast about 3 years ago as he was working on the mental side of losing weight through blogging and journaling, and then recording his audio thoughts. His podcast, Coffee Talk with Liquid Shano 1973, has gained a hearty following, surpassing 200,000 downloads and over 1.75 million plays. He also has a Facebook group called No Finish Line Nation, as well as an Instagram account and a TikTok account, which has over 54,000 followers. Shane's vision and mission are to inspire, motivate, and encourage others to truly become their authentic and true selves. He believes in believing in yourself, seeing your self-worth, and then, at the end of the day, put the work in going for your goals and dreams. He is also a big advocate of spreading kindness. Welcome to the PR Maven podcast, a podcast all about growing your network and building your brand through traditional and digital networking techniques. I'm Nancy Marshall, the PR Maven and CEO of Marshall Communications. I've been strengthening brands through PR for over 35 years, and now I'm celebrating the success of executives, influencers, business owners, and entrepreneurs from all around the world, all of whom have cultivated their brands and broadened their networks through traditional and digital networking methods. Each week, I interview one of these interesting and influential individuals and provide an opportunity for you, the PR Maven Nation, to gain insights from their strategies and stories. So stay tuned for this week's episode, and thanks for listening. So, Shane, I'm so honored to be here with you today because you are such a motivational personality, and I've known about you for a long, long time, and I've wanted to have you on the podcast. And I must say, for our listeners, we're in person here during COVID, and we both have masks on.
We do. We're looking at each other with masks on.
Which, I mean, like a year ago before COVID, if we had ever thought we were going to do this, we would think that was crazy.
Exactly.
But now it's, I guess, sort of normal. So if we sound a little muffled, it's because we have these masks on.
It's different. But hey, it's the new normal right now.
That's right. Except both of us wear glasses, too. So I notice I'm fogging up a little more than you are. Maybe that's because I've got more hot air.
Yeah. Oh, maybe that's what. Well, I keep on telling myself that, but I know that with my glasses, I put over the mask, over the top of the mask.
Yeah.
If I do this, less air gets up into the fogging of the lens. So that usually works out for me.
Yeah, good idea. You're wicked smart.
Wicked smart.
Oh, my God, I'm already snorting.
I love it.
So, Shane, what motivates you to motivate others?
Yeah, I think a lot of what in my journey, I think what I do is I try to be able to make small incremental positive momentum boost for everybody that's around me. So whether it's a small gesture of something like if I'm standing in Dunkin' Donuts and I pay for the person behind me, or if I go through the toll booth, even though everybody uses the auto tolls now, but put the money in down in Massachusetts when I'm back home to be able to pay for 3 or 4 cars behind me, a small gesture of kindness goes a long ways. And I think through life events and through things that I've been through and my wife's been through together, we got to a point where we were like, okay, you know what? I think I've got to start to make a difference rather than always be in the negative space, right? Because human nature is we get negative. We think negative. We beat ourselves up. We talk poorly to ourselves. We do all these different things. And if we're negative all the time, we go down negative roads. So when my wife had some health issues and I was in it with her, we both made life changes at that moment in time. And I said, you know what? I'm also going to make differences in my life. She cleaned her life up, went clean and sober, marathons, cupcake making, all kinds of stuff. And I said, I'm going to lose weight, and I'm also going to invest in other people. And from that day forward, 10 years ago, was when we made life changes to be able to say, okay, you know what? Let's do some positive things for other people.
Well, you really have made an impact on a lot of people. I mean, you have your own podcast and you have a very large national, if not international audience. Isn't that right?
Yeah. It's mind-blowing to me that a guy that lives in just outside of Portland, Maine, can sit there and do a podcast from his living room and reach places like England, Australia, some parts of Russia, all kinds of places for people that will listen to a podcast about positivity, about losing weight or being the best version of yourself or just overcoming adversity. And it's amazing to me that I've got a platform that I can do that with. And they want to listen. You know, the downloads, the feed hits, all that's all numbers-wise for podcasts. We rate ourselves on that kind of stuff. For me to be at a place where I've got over 200,000 downloads and I've got over 2 million feed hits, that means a lot to me from a guy from Scarborough, Maine, that's podcasting in his living room about these kind of things that people want to hear it. So it's amazing to me. It's humbling.
Well, when we were in the green room before we started the podcast today, you were talking about the Oprah effect. So tell me what you mean by that.
Yeah, I think, I bring it back to the fact that I think people that want to be able to be the best version of themselves, so they want to be somebody that's doing better or losing weight or being financially stable or trying to be better at their jobs, they're all trying to be able to do it. All of us are trying to be able to be the best version of ourselves no matter what. I think what happens a lot of times is when we see a fairy tale story where somebody has lost a lot of weight or is naturally skinny or naturally athletic or naturally right. You know, I'm like, listen, I eat a piece of cake and I put on 25 pounds usually, right? Yeah. But the thing for me is that when I look at stories of people that I know have struggled, that have been through the grind, that they struggle like I do, like snacking at nighttime, or I know I can't eat poor foods, otherwise it's going to really affect me, or the health reasons of just being a dad and wanting to live long life together with my son. For me, I need to have examples of people that are successful, that have been through the trenches. So I think that's the Oprah effect. The Oprah effect is, we know Oprah. She's up there. She's one of the richest women in the whole entire world. She's got a media mogul industry, a huge thing, but she's been through a lot. She's been through weight loss. She's been through relationships. She's been through all kinds of different stuff in her journey. Being an African-American female anyway, coming through the industry to be as where she is, she's been through a lot through the struggle. So I think that story resonates with people. And I think if people can listen to somebody that has that kind of story, when people can hear the stories that matter, that they go, okay, I can relate to that story and I know exactly what that means and I feel that journey, I think they love that part of it. And I think that's where most people that listen to my podcast, it resonates with them because they're like, oh man, you know what? This is a big guy. He's not skinny mini. He's not a little dude. He's got a great voice, but he's also a voice that matters. And I think that the way I relate to people, I think it really kind of connects with people on a personal level. And I think that's really where I feel like that's where some of the following has happened. The other part of the effect that I feel about the podcast is females. I'd say probably 95% of my listeners are all female. And the reason is, I think, and my wife and I have talked about this, is because females want to know, well, from a guy's perspective, what is all the internal windings of a man, right? Because what do? 9 times out of 10, a female, my wife will tell me all her emotions, everything from top to bottom, everything she's feeling in the whole entire world. You come to me to talk about my emotions, I go, oh, I'm all right, I'm good.
Right, exactly.
Right?
You guys are pretty simple in some ways, but
right.
Complicated in others.
We're very complex. And the thing about it is that a lot of people don't know how to talk to their husbands, grandfathers, sons, or anything about medical. Like a lot of my podcast also is about men. Go get your checkups done. Men, it's men's health time frame. Go, get tested for different things. And men are they don't want to go to the doctors. They don't want to go talk to anybody because it's good. Just put a Band-Aid on it. I'm fine. Right? So I think that females relate to that because they're like, wait a minute. I feel comfortable in the fact that I'm listening to this guy that is comfortable talking about emotions. He's talking about his feelings. Wait a second. Men don't have feelings, right? Wait a second. Hold on. And so I think that the relation there is, I've had many people write me letters, emails, and everything saying, you helped me in my relationship with my husband or my father because I was afraid to go to him and talk about this, but I know that he has those feelings. You helped me understand that it's okay to talk about that kind of stuff. So I feel like that's a really big deal. And it really resonates with people, I think, as they're trying to be able to build these relationships and be better moving forward. So I think that helps.
Right. Well, you're very relatable, and
Thanks.
people, and I know that since I first met you, have always felt very comfortable with you. So there's a lot to be said for that, too.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. And I know with regard to Oprah, too, she used to have her own daily radio show. She had her own radio network. And at a period in my life when I was making a lot of life changes, probably about 6 or 7 years ago, I was listening to her. That was really before podcasts. And so
Right.
I was listening to Oprah's show on the radio. And I feel like she gave me permission to just be my authentic self.
Yes.
Because prior to that, I would sometimes change the version of myself who I would reveal to people. And I feel like in the past 5 years of my life, I've just kind of put myself out there, like it or not. And, the sign of a strong brand is you are going to attract people, but you will also repel people too, like the people who really don't belong in your network or in your life. And that's okay. We don't have to be liked by everyone.
That's a great point. I think that a lot of times when people get into this space that we play in, whether it's social media, whether it's podcasting, whether it's any kind of brand recognition or any kind of thing like that, you're going to get the people that do not fit in the mold of what you're trying to be able to bring to the table. And what you have to do when you enter it is you have to go into it with an open mind enough to know some people aren't going to like my cup of tea, right? I have many people on social media platforms that will come to me and go, why are you always positive? And I'm like, well, I'm not always positive. What I do is I try to take a negative situation and I try to at least put a positive spin enough that I know that I can embrace it, right? I'm not all unicorns and rainbows because I wake up grumpy just like anybody else does, right? But my cup of tea is if I can take my morning thoughts when I get up in the morning, on my mirror in the morning, when I see the things that I'm grateful for, right? I have them listed right on my mirror, the things I'm grateful for, I'm thankful for, or anything like that. It automatically changes my mindset along with a cup of coffee because you have to have a cup of coffee,
Yeah,
right?
Me too.
So that's why it's called coffee talk, right?
Yeah.
Literally,
Yeah, right.
So basically, I have my coffee, I'm talking to myself in the morning, and then I look at my mirror and say, these are the things I'm grateful for, and it puts me in the right mindset to be able to take on the day and keep things moving forward. That's my authentic self, right? Because I know my positivity can change things for my own self. One of the things I used to always tell people is if you live your life authentically, like you just said a minute ago, and you're very open about that piece of it, you will attract those people. Those people that want to be a part of it are going to want to be a part of it. They're going to be like, hey, tell me more. I want to be a part of what you're doing. This is amazing. Those others, I got no time for it. Seriously, it's okay. I'll be here if you need me. Come on over and talk to me if you want to. But here's my authentic self. I'm way past that whole stage of trying to impress you, right? I'm just going to be able to go out there and do positive things and be a positive influence in the world the best that I can. So I appreciate that.
Well, you talk about gratitude and, sometimes I get upset because my legs are big and, I'm not exactly the skinny mini that I'd like to be. But I try to say, well, at least these legs, I do a lot of things with these legs. I ride bikes,
Yes.
I ski, I hike mountains, I swim. And so I try to feel a sense of gratitude, all right, well, these legs do propel me.
Agreed.
in a lot of different ways.
I don't think enough people live in gratitude moments. I don't think they're grateful. Well, I shouldn't say that, but I think that a lot of people don't recognize it. They don't pick apart. What they do is they pick apart the negatives. They're always like, this is how bad I am. This is how bad I look. This is how fat I look.
Exactly.
This is what I'm seeing in the mirror. I'm not seeing a very pretty person, or I'm not seeing somebody that has a haircut. I haven't had a haircut in 3 weeks, so I feel horrible or whatever. Instead of going, man, you know what? I'm amazing today. And I can go and attack this small goal that I'm going to put on my agenda today. I'm going to go for it, and I'm going to attack it, just this thing today, because I know I can, and I'm amazing, and I can go do this. That alone in itself can change the whole outlook on everything. I think more people need to do that. They need to be in a space where they're thankful for what they have, be grateful for what they have, and then use those tools that you have at the positive end of where you're at, to be able to attack all those things you want to be able to go to get to those goals. I believe that if people did that more, we would be able to do so many more things in life.
Well, I think also we can become easily overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Especially during COVID. Everything seems overwhelming.
It's a way overwhelming. I'm literally the only sense of normalcy that I have right now is the fact that I can do a podcast from my living room once a week, that I sit there for me and a microphone and my listeners, and I just talk about whatever. It's the only normalcy that I have, because everything is so. I mean, my kid's on hybrid learning. He's learning from home, and he's got to be. There's no football this year, no sports. My wife, she doesn't even go outside to go running as much as what she was. She's on the treadmill at home. She loves to be out in the air and loves going to places, going shopping. She can't even do that. She's like, everything's just so backwards. But to the point we were just making a minute ago, I'm grateful that we have our health. And I'm grateful that we're okay. And I'm grateful that we have a home to go to, that we have a roof over our head, and we can sit down together and have dinner together. And those things are the things I have to really hone in on and be grateful for during these crazy times, you know?
Exactly. I agree. And having an attitude of gratitude does make a big difference. Mm-hmm. So in addition to Coffee Talk, where else can you be found on the internet?
Well, you know what's funny is I was talking to a friend of mine that's in the other room over here, actually. He told me one day I came over here to kind of do some podcasting stuff. And he says to me, he says, you know, you should look at TikTok. And I say, TikTok, isn't that app that the kids are dancing to and they're on there doing the lip syncing and everything else? And he said to me, you know, there are other people that are in the weight loss community, or other people that are of a little bit more of an older demographic that are on there that you can get into and try. I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to go check it out. I found out my son was on there. I'm like, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go peek on my son just to be able to see what he's doing and what he's watching. All of a sudden, because of my positivity, I get up every morning. I grab my coffee. I say, hey, good morning, everybody. Tell us where you're from. Or I do a live in the morning. So every morning I wake up from like 7 to 8 o'clock in the morning on TikTok. And I get up there and I just open up the room, and we have a coffee shop. So people will come in the room. They stop in. They have their coffee. They said, hey, Shane, how you doing? This is what my goals are today. This is where I'm going. I was like, awesome. That's great. You're going to go do it. Make it happen. Let's go. Or, you know, I'm having a really tough morning. And I'm like, hey, you know what? I got it. I get it. I had a rough morning this morning too, but here's what I did. So this thing's been growing and growing. So over the past 6 months that I've been on there, I've got 54,000 followers on TikTok because of some of the things that I'm doing with that app, right?
I just have to point out, Tanner Campbell is our audio engineer who's in the next room over. We can see him through the glass, and he's doing this.
Yeah, he's got the hands up.
High-five dance. It's pretty funny.
Well, he told me, he said, you never know what you can, like, whatever avenue whatever you want to do, you got to put yourself out there to be able to just do it, right? In this space that we play in with podcasting and social media, if you're not putting yourself out there and you're not being consistent with your content, there's this guy that I watch sometimes on TikTok. His name is Gary V.
Oh, yeah.
Gary V. He's very aggressive, right? Very aggressive.
He uses a lot of F-bombs.
Yes, he's a very, very high amounts of adult language that he uses with what he says. But his image is, and what he tries to bring to the table is, don't sell yourself short. If you've got something to say it. Right? Put it out there. You never know who's going to be listening. You never know who you're going to inspire, and be consistent with it. So I've been really, truly leaning in on that piece of it. To build a brand, you've got to have consistency, and you've got to bring something to the table that has worthwhile content for you to be able to bring to the table. So I've lived in that mantra where every morning I've gotten up to do my live in the morning, and I'll do 1 or 2 posts during the day, you know, just a quick, they're only 15-second to 60-second videos. But who would have thought on this app that these little kids and these teenagers were dancing and doing all this lip syncing to, that now I'm finding all kinds of new listeners for my podcast that I'm drawing over. I say in the mornings, I'm like, go check out my podcast. It's over here. Go check out my merchandise store. It's over here. So I've been using it as a platform to be able to generate people to go to these places, all based on the fact of taking a chance and putting yourself out there and just doing it. Right. So hats off to Tanner, as we said a minute ago, for recommending that.
Careful, he's going to want a commission check.
He's going to say, come on, where's my cut? Where's my cut?
Exactly. As if you're making a ton of money doing this.
Yeah, exactly. So it's funny because the theme of it, though, is what I tell everybody, because a lot of people will hop on there and they'll say, hey, I just got on here. I don't really know what I'm doing. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. Neither do I. Like, it really, just put your stuff out there. If you've got something to say it. Like, you never know. If you can inspire one person that's listening to the voice that you're bringing to the table or what you're saying, you've changed a life, right? And at the end of the day, that's really all that matters. If you can change the sphere of influence of about maybe 1 or 2 people, whoever you can come in contact with, and with the internet, it gets bigger and bigger, then you've done your job. Like, seriously, at the end of the day, everybody should go into their day with intention of making a positive impact somewhere, right? Somewhere, I believe that, right? And if we could do that, this is a great medium to do it. So that's another one of the biggest places that I'm on TikTok, is surprisingly so amazing and gratifying and humbling with the amount of people that are jumping on board to see what I'm doing.
Right. But don't you do Facebook Live also?
I do. So I'm all over the place, right? So I have a Facebook group. The group that we started was called No Finish Line Nation, is what it's called. And so what that is basically, it stemmed from when I used to do Weight Watchers back in the day. I used to do Weight Watchers. I was on there, and I was on there losing weight, lost about 100 pounds, was really working with some people, built a brand and networked with a lot of people through Weight Watchers as well. And what we did was we said, the platform that Weight Watchers gave us, it was like a message board, almost like their version of what Facebook was, I guess. You put posts out or put whatever. We didn't like it because you couldn't do videos at the time. You couldn't do anything. So I said, you know what, let's go and let's start up a Facebook group, right? The three of us started off over there, and we brought over to the Facebook group. We just invited some people. If you guys want to come over, all it is about positivity. All it is about motivation. If you want some encouragement, it's going to be a closed group, so you don't have to worry about a bunch of people jumping in. You have to answer some questions and be invited or whatever to get in there. So we started off, a couple thousand people just in the beginning when we started to, in the beginning stages of it. And the next thing you know, it started growing to 10,000 and then 20,000 and then 30,000. And over 40,000 people are all in this group on this Facebook page, all together sitting there going, hey, you know what? I want to know how, if I want to get up in the morning and I want to have my coffee to go take on the day, who's there to help me? And then all these people jump in and say, hey, you're awesome. You're amazing. You go do it. I've struggled with the same thing you are. So we've got this community of people that are a demographic of people that aren't necessarily comfortable about posting this on their normal Facebook pages, right? It's a closed group. So that if they put a post about I lost some weight or I gained weight this week, it's safe because the people that are in the group are so supportive. So we've got a Facebook group of No Finish Line Nation. It's like 40,000 people, a TikTok page that has 54,000. I'm growing Instagram, a podcast that has over 200,000 downloads. So for me, it's all kind of coming together with the fact of what we talked about in the beginning. The purpose that I want to bring to the table is to spread love and positivity of where we got to be. These are the ways that I'm going to be able to do so continually through all these social media platforms.
I love that. I just wrote a book called Grow Your Audience, Grow Your Brand, and I really should have done a whole chapter with a case study on you. And actually, I may have to do a supplemental chapter.
Nice, an add-on.
Because you have done that. I mean, by serving up your audience, and you serve content that your people want. And just hearing you talk, I can tell you think of your audience as like one person by one person,
yep,
as opposed to like a mass of faceless humans.
Right. Well, I think that the intimacy of one-on-one interaction is so much better. That's one of the reasons why even when I post videos or I go live, I like it because it's like I'm talking to them personally. So if I'm on there, even if I have 5 people on Facebook, I know that if I'm talking to those 5 people that are in the room with me, I know that that's going to be on record, that anybody can pop in there and listen to that anytime moving forward. They're like, oh, what did Shane have to say? I missed it. Well, let me listen to it.
Right.
And as I'm in there having conversations, we can do that. I just started to, I shared with you a little earlier in our pre-work here, I just started using StreamYard, which is a live service that basically I can sit with a microphone in my face and I can do a podcast interview from afar. And for COVID, that's perfect, right? I don't have to be in the same room a lot of times. I don't have to anything like that. So if they're not comfortable, I can pop on my StreamYard, my live feed, and their live feed, and it goes live and it broadcasts to all of my platforms. So my Facebook page, our No Finish Line Nation group, on my own Liquid Shano page. So from there, they get all these different platforms, and on YouTube as well, where we can broadcast to all these different channels for interviews, and then I record it and also put it out in podcast form too. So I'm everywhere.
And where did the Liquid Shano? Is that like because you love to drink beer?
Okay, so a lot of people think it's because of coffee, because I have coffee talk, right?
Yeah.
Right? That's what they think. I love beer, so I think it's because of beer. It's not. It's kind of a weird story. What happened was I was a bartender down in Massachusetts. That's where I'm from. And we were down there, and it was a late night shift, and pretty much almost every other night or so, this one guy would come in. He was a regular. He would always come in. And I have a bald head. I shave my head. And so a lot of times he'd be trying to say, he'd be trying to call me Mr. Clean. But instead, he would always say, like, Liquid Drano. He would always say Liquid Drano instead of Mr. Clean. And so the whole staff is like, what's this guy talking about? What is he saying? But yeah, we knew what he was trying to say. But the whole staff.
Was he drunk?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. He was
you
like.
probably shouldn't have been serving him.
100%. 100%. Thank goodness he was like walking distance from the place right down the road anyway. But what it was is that he kept on saying it over and over again. I was always like, why does he call me Liquid Drano? And then somebody come together and they said, I think he's trying to say Mr. Clean with the bald head and whatever else that's there. So then the whole staff got together and said, Liquid Drano. Wait a minute, your name is Shane. Your name is now Liquid Shano. And so from that point forward, that was 20 years ago, I've gone by Liquid Shano ever since. All my blogs, all of my entries, friends call me, what's up, Liquid? How you doing?
I think that's such a great story.
Oh, man, it's crazy. It's crazy.
It's a guy who was trying to call you one thing, and he called you the other thing. That's the thing that stuck.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was so funny, man.
Yeah.
It stuck, though. It stuck.
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, that's what I knew you as.
Yep, exactly. So funny.
Because we've been a part of this podcast group, again, not to give Tanner's head is going to grow 10 times.
I know. We're doing too much. We got to stop.
But there is a Portland podcaster group here. I keep leaning away. Tanner's going to be mad. But so I think that's how we met. I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, right when League of Maine Podcasters came out, we met up and had a couple meetups and everything else. And I think that it's really nice to be able to sit down with some other podcasters, with people that are in the beginning stages, people that are pros, veterans, everything else, just to be able to pick each other's brain. I love it. If you can meet other podcasters and you're doing it, it's such a wealth of information, of struggles and things that people go through for what you do, to know what to do moving forward and stuff. So it's a great group.
And of course, at one of our meetings, John Lee Dumas was there. That was really exciting.
That was crazy. It was awesome. I was like, I was just starstruck.
Yeah, me too.
It's awesome.
Me too, yeah. And of course, that was in a brewery, which was awesome too.
Absolutely. I love the breweries here in Maine. They're the best. Love them.
Yeah, it really does add a lot to our state, I think. And,
sure does.
The spirit of entrepreneurialism is alive in all of those. So tell us, what other projects are you working on now, Shane?
Yeah, so a couple of my friends and I, we have a couple ideas that we're putting together. There's 2 initiatives that we're putting together, and these are people that I met on TikTok, actually, new networks that I met there. And one of the initiatives is Kindness Just Because, is what we're calling it, the hashtag of Kindness Just Because. And what that is doing random acts of kindness and getting out there in the community to be able to give back to other people. Now, especially during COVID, while we're all hunkered down, my focus of my area of Kindness Just Because is the service industry. So for me, anybody that's a server, bartender, anybody that's been impacted by the fact that nobody's coming into the restaurants, it's half full a lot of times, they're just not going out anymore. What I do is I go into the restaurant, and on TikTok, what I do is I earn money by drawing avatars for people. So I also do artwork on the side. So I draw these little cartoon character avatar pictures, the little round pictures for their profile. And so what they'll do is they'll pay me a donation of $25 or more, and they give it to me, and they say, okay, you do whatever you want with that money, and then you draw me an avatar. So I draw them an avatar. They put it on their profile. They love it. They go to promote it. They say, hey, look at Liquid Shano drew me an avatar or whatever else. So that keeps the brand moving, right? But for me also, I take that money and I go and I tip some of these bartenders, servers, and all these people. So in Portland alone, in Scarborough, I've been to Nonsuch River. I've been to the Cowbell. I've been to O'Reilly's Cure and a couple others, and given $500 or $1,000 tips to people just from the money that people are donating towards the cause of me doing avatars. I give it back to the community, and what we'll do is, with their permission, my son or my wife or whoever's with me will record the interaction. So I'll say, hey, I'm on TikTok. This is what we're doing. Kindness Just Because. We want to be able to give back to the community, people that are affected. Here's what my followers have done. They paid me money to give to you. And the response is just overwhelmingly amazing because they're just floored, right? They might have made $20 that night. And now they're walking out with $500. And they're like, well, one girl said, we were at, it was the Cowbell. And she got really emotional, and she said to me, she goes, I just want, she came back over to the table with my wife and my son, and she said, I have tuition payments, and I don't know how I was going to make the tuition payments. You just saved like a whole quarter worth of tuition payments for me. You have no idea what you just did. Crying, and I was like, oh man. So it resonated with me in my head of this is a good thing, right? I'm doing something for somebody else. So what I'm doing is I'm paying it forward two ways. One way is somebody else gets an avatar, right? They feel good about themselves. They have this little cartoon character. I make them look pretty. Maybe I take out a couple wrinkles, or I make their, make them look really, really beautiful with the cartoon character on there, and I put their logo on there, and then they're able to put that on their avatar, and they're like, "Hey, look at me." And that's one way that I pay it. And then the other way is through taking the money that I make from it and paying it forward with other people to be able to do it. So that's my kindness just because aspect of what I'm trying to be able to work on right now. So
that's beautiful. Have you gotten any publicity in the media for that?
I haven't yet. No.
Oh,
no.
Well, we're going to have to do something about that.
But I will tell you, it's funny. We were just talking about that. I will tell you the first one that I did, the first one that I did was Cowbell. Then I did the Starbucks drive-thru. I pulled into Starbucks in Scarborough, and I went over there, and I gave the kid that was there was 5 people working. I said, "How many people are working?" He said, "You got 5 people working." I said, "Awesome. Each one of you are going to get $100. And he's like, "What?" That video has 1.9 million views on the video with over 500,000 likes on it. It went viral on TikTok. It went crazy there because it was just the response of him going, "I can't believe it. Well, what is this?" Right? And it was just a kindness just because. Now, remember we talked about how some people, it's their cup of tea and it's not. Some people are part of your group and not. You have a group of people that would literally say to you, "Well, why are you recording it? And why are you posting it? Is that for visibility and brand?" I said, "It could be." I said, "But that's not why I'm doing it. What I'm doing it is because the folks that paid for the avatar want to know that their money's going somewhere really good. And it's going towards a good cause. So I'm taking that money, paying it forward. The video is proof to them to say, this is what your money did, right? And so they're like, "Oh, I guess you're not just doing it for clout and whatever else, all this other stuff." I would say, no, kindness just because is can be a movement if we do it one action at a time. So I love the fact that it took off on that piece, but I hasn't caught on to any news outlets or anything like that just yet.
Oh, well, you happen to be face to face here with somebody who knows a thing or two about connecting with the media.
Nice, beautiful. I'm with the right person.
It might just happen.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love the idea of it, and it's just modeling the kind of behavior that's uplifting, and it goes back to the whole feeling of gratitude too. Yep. I'm sure you feel grateful that you're able to do this.
Oh, my wife, every time we do it, she is the one that's emotional and crying when we go home because she's like, "Well, look what we just did. Yeah. We just changed someone's life just now. Literally at the end of the day, every response that we've gotten is, you have no idea what this did for me." And for her, my wife, to see it, when I first told her what the concept of it was, she's like, "All right, well, that's cool. I guess we'll go." But now she wants to be a part of everything. She's like, "Let's go. I'll be the one recording. Let's go have some fun with this." So for her, she knows that's my vision and what I try to bring to the table and the space that I want to play in. And now she just loves being a part of it. And that's one of the reasons why when life changes or different stuff happens, that as you move forward, especially right now, we need so much of it right now with COVID, with elections, with racial injustice, everything that's going on in the world. You need positivity in the world. Just one action at a time, we can make a difference. We just have to do it. We have to put one foot in front of the other and do it and stop hating on each other. And let's go give some love out there. That's really what I believe in. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where we're at.
And it literally restores your faith in humanity.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
So you have such an impressive following. And, like my brother Walter, who's down in Florida, he's been one of your fans for years now.
It's awesome.
And he doesn't know yet that I'm doing this podcast. When he hears this podcast, maybe finally he's going to think that I'm doing something.
He's going to say, "Oh, you do know him. I thought it was a story."
Yeah. Well, I'm just his lame little sister.
That's funny.
So what do you attribute your success to?
I think there's a couple things for me. I think one of my biggest things is just a personal drive to make a difference, right? It's a personal thing for me. I'm always driven to continuing to move forward, even during times when we don't feel like we can. It's just a personal drive for me. But I also think a lot of it has to do with the people that brought me up. My dad, and I lost him last year to Alzheimer's. And for him, while I was with him at the time that he was passing, I said to him, "Listen, Dad," I whispered to him in his ear. I know he could hear me, but he couldn't respond. But I told him, I said, this is my journey. This is my vision. And I'm going to keep on doing positive things in the world. And, You're going to be looking down on me, seeing me do things that are great for other people.
Yeah.
And you're going to be in a place where you're going to be like, you know what, I'm proud of you. And I said, I'm going to make you proud. So for me, that's a driving force for me to continue to move forward and be in a space where I know that if I can, change any outcome or outlook on things one action at a time, I know that he's looking down at me going, good job, buddy. You know what I mean? So that's a big driving force for me.
That's nice. My father's been gone since 2006, but he's the one who helped me figure out that public relations was the right career for me. And I wish, oh my gosh, I wish that he would be here to see what I've done. And I only hope that he's looking down.
Oh, yeah, he is. He is. I believe that. I think that I think they do. They look down on us. They do. They're like, hey, good job, buddy. You know what I mean? Or give you a swift kick when you need it too. Come on, what are you doing, pal? Let's go.
Yeah, I know my father was an avid exerciser, and I know like those days when I need to get out and exercise, he probably is just kind of like...
He's like, come on, let's go.
Nancy, get out the door, get off the couch.
Exactly.
Well, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back with more of that conversation with Liquid Shano.
Sounds good.
Not to be mistaken with Mr. Drano.
I love it.
But we'll be back shortly. And first, we're going to hear a little bit about my message mapping course.
Do you want to grow your client or customer base? Perhaps increase brand awareness? Maybe tell your unique story more effectively? Of course you do. But you may be worried that you don't have enough expertise to make that happen. Well, no worries, PR Maven Nation. Let the PR Maven herself, Nancy Marshall, show you how easy it is to get your message across effectively using a powerful yet simple tool, a message map. Nancy's training is often called informative and constructive, well-designed and impactful, with a perfect blend of theory and real-life experience. You will leverage Nancy's expertise to create your own message map when you register for this comprehensive online video training course, which is broken down into 4 easy-to-understand modules. Normally, this course is priced at $147, but for listeners of the PR Maven podcast, that's you, PR Maven Nation, it's only $29 when you enter the code word podcast during enrollment. It even includes a workbook and bonus content to guide you through the process. So go to prmaven.com and click on the Message Map Mastery course to enroll today. Remember, enter the word podcast during enrollment for a special discounted price of $29.
Welcome back, and today we're talking with Shane Lakita, who's a podcaster of Coffee Talk with Liquid Shano 1973. Why 1973, by the way?
Just my year of birth.
Oh, there you go. You're a young guy. So how has COVID-19 impacted you and your life, Shane?
Yeah, I think as we talked about before the break, for me, it was a lot about how can I live in the space of continuing to invest in others in a space where I know that everybody's afraid to even go out and do things and be out in public. And it's just not the same. We're not going to the bars and we're not going out to hang out at the restaurants or socially. Everything's changed. Even my neighborhood that I'm a part of, which I love my neighborhood, we usually every year have like a summer party, and then we'll have like a bonfire, and then we have like cornhole tournaments, and we have all this different stuff that goes on in the neighborhood. We haven't had anything this year, nothing, including Halloween, nothing. So it's impacted me and my family a lot because we are, usually socially outgoing, going out and making things happen when we're very much hunkered down and not really doing anything. So for me, I have to go down different avenues of being able to still be social during a time when I have to be antisocial, right? I miss bro hugs, and I miss hugs, and I miss high fives, and I miss all that stuff. So for me, social media has been that outlet for me to be able to continue to not only build brand, but also reach out to a lot of people that I, didn't have an opportunity to before, and give me the ability to be able to continue to connect with new people, meet new faces, and be social during a time when I wasn't able to be social. The other thing that COVID's done for me, which I feel is a better thing, actually, it's a good thing, is it's caused me to use the technology that I have at hand to be able to FaceTime my stepmother and my mother and my grandmother and all these people that we weren't really doing much of that before. And now that COVID's here and we can't visit each other, what a great way to be able to connect and continue to be able to push forward. So for me, it's an investment that I have to keep filling the cup by reaching out to my family and showing love and adoration and things like that. But it's given me the outlet to do it by using the technology that we have at hand. So thank goodness that we have these phones, even though they can be annoying sometimes. I have these phones and tablets on my hand to know that I can not only run business, but I can also be social in a time when we can't be social,
Who would have thought? I remember the advent of these cell phones and the predictions that were made at the time. And, of course, I never believed any of the things that they said. But, right. I mean, today you look at people just walking down the sidewalk and how many of them are just glued to their phones.
I just have a new design on my merchandise site that it's called I Love My Hip Pocket Friends. Because my hip pocket friends are all these friends that I have at my disposal in my phone that I have on social media that have become family and friends to me. I love the fact that I have hip pocket friends because I can reach out to them whenever I need to. And now I know I have that as a resource for me when I'm having a tough time or I want to be able to reach out just to, you know what I mean? Hip pocket friends has been one of the things during my lives that people are like, I love that concept. Yeah. So now I have it on a shirt. So, if it's popular, let's put it on a shirt.
That's great. That's great. And I have a group like that too. It's my son Craig was on the ski team at Colby College, and a group of us moms whose kids were on the team, we became fast friends. And I mean, the kids have been out of school now. They've been out of college now for 5 or 6 years, but this group of moms, we stay in touch and we support each other. And it's like you said, hip pocket friends. I mean, they're always there for you. Mm-hmm. If you need to be boosted up or check in or whatever it is. So.
I tell everybody that says to me, I don't like social media. I don't like Facebook. I've heard it. I mean, you can hear it, whether it's political, whether it's all the stuff that goes on out there. And I say, one, it's a avenue that you didn't have before that you never know if it's used properly, how it can enhance your life. If you just have to use it properly. So mold it out, filter out, block who you have to block, do what you have to do, but make it something that is what it's meant to be, is a social network. It's supposed to be social. We're supposed to be connecting in some fashion. And if we're not doing that, then what good are we? Like, seriously, we still got to connect. Even if we're in the middle of COVID, I'm not going to be let's not go out there and not wear masks and go crazy. What I am going to be is I'm going to live within the confines of what I can do, and let's make the best of it by reaching out to each other through all these different mediums that we have. So
absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, having a network is priceless.
Sure
I'm such a big believer in growing your network. Mm-hmm. Of course, I enjoy networking, but not everybody does. But I do like to give advice and have a chapter about it in my book, actually, about how to do networking even if you're shy.
Right.
Because it really involves being a good listener and remembering some facts about people. So the next time you talk to them, you can ask them about their wife or their child or their favorite hobby or whatever
it is.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And humans are social creatures. So
supposed to be.
Some of us were.
Yeah, I'm a little out of control.
Some of us are social beasts.
Yes, I agree. Even from the first times that we met at the League of Maine Podcasters, you and I were like all over the place, and everybody else was like, okay, guys.
We knew we were brother and sister in a past life.
Exactly. I love it.
So, Shane, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Let's see. I think that with everything that's going on and everything that we're faced with, I feel as if I don't really know. I have a plan. And my plan is to be successful with my podcasts and everything else, to make income enough to be able to supplement, or if not take over for the income that I currently make or that I'm looking to make in the regular world, right? For me, that goes through branding, that goes through making sure I continue to build listeners and subscribers, and it's going to keep the full court press for me to be able to keep moving forward through all of the social media aspects. So whether it's through Instagram, through TikTok, or whatever new comes along, if something else comes along, I got to be like, okay, I got to play in that space, because the more you can build brand and the more that I can get the name out there, Liquid Shano, and say, hey, come see or hear my podcast, or go to my lives or go to my YouTube page, the more I can do that, the more opportunities I can have to continue to elevate and perform and be able to make an income from it. Because the way I feel about it is if I can then be paid to make a positive impact on people's lives, that's euphoria to me, right? For me to get paid to make a positive impact on you, and right now I'm doing it pretty much just for free, right? I go out there and just do what I have to do because it's my personality. But if I can get paid to do it, no, then that's the perfect world. So for me, if I was to put a timeline on it, it would do injustice to it. But I think in 5 years, I'm hoping that I could be at that place where I can get paid for what I'm doing right now and be in positive influence.
Well, you have the most important element, which is a platform and an audience. I mean, a lot of people try to do what you're doing starting at ground zero. So I think you're well on your way.
Well, thanks.
And I have a lot of confidence in you.
Thanks. I love that. Thanks.
So what is a book, an app, or a website that has helped you and why?
I think that for me, I thought about this for a little bit. I do a lot of audiobooks, but one of the best books that I ever read and that I always lean into, I've been doing it more on video format, but have you ever heard Make Your Bed? Make Your Bed by a Rear Admiral?
No, I haven't.
So I'll send you the link to it, but it's basically called Make Your Bed. And what it is basically is he says every day that you wake up, he's a Rear Admiral in the Navy, and he basically came up with a speech. I think it was at one of the graduations of one of the military academies. And what he said is that if you make your bed in the morning, it gives you the first sense of a successful task of the day. Right? So you wake up in the morning, you're in a grumpy mood, you do whatever you have to do, you're like not really wanting to get up, you're not really wanting to do anything, but you get up and you make your bed, and your bed is nice and neat, and you're like, wait a minute, I just accomplished something. And internally, you feel that gratitude of knowing that you're able to make your bed, that you did something and you accomplished it, and now you can move on to the next task, and then the next task, and the next task. He said what happens a lot of times is we wait for the day to go by for us to be able to come up with different tasks and goals to be able to get to, when your first task can be right first thing in the morning and you had no idea that you were doing it. Brushing your teeth, shaving, making your bed, those kind of things are jobs that we take for granted, and we're just like, it's just something that we're supposed to do or that we do without really looking at the meaning behind it to say you're setting yourself up for success by doing these things. So I love the concept of that because that's how I live my life. I wake up in the morning and I say, I've got to change my mindset no matter what it is with a cup of coffee. Like I was saying before, my sense of gratitude. And I know that my day is now changed just by a couple thoughts. Instead of I'm overweight, I gained some pounds during COVID, I'm not feeling good, I'm not feeling right. Instead going, you're healthy, you're wise, you're a good dad, you're a good husband, you're ready to take on the day, be grateful for those things, and let's go. So that's kind of like the same concept for me. I can get my head wrapped around the first thing of the day. So that's a really good one to take a look at.
So my question is, do you get that cup of coffee before you make your bed, or do you make your bed before you get the coffee?
Cup of coffee is the very first thing that I do.
Then you make your bed.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, a running joke used to be, my wife used to go, when I would get up in the morning, she would literally have a cup of coffee sitting on the counter, because all she would do is just pour it, because I usually drink it just black. I just pour it right in a cup or whatever. It's got to be a good cup, though, for it to be black. But she puts it in there and she says, here's the cup, before we even say a word to each other back in the day. Because what happened was, when I was in the Navy, I was in the Navy for 10 years. And for me, that's how we stayed up at nighttime. That's how we woke up in the morning, was with coffee. So it just kind of was ingrained in me. But I know that for me, it's a comfort for me. All the crutches that I have in life, I'm not a heavy drinker. I'm not I don't smoke. I don't do any of this stuff like that. But for coffee, it's the one thing that I have as a comfort for me in the morning, to know that my day is now starting off right with a cup of coffee. You know what I mean? So it just really puts me in the right place. And so the reason the podcast is called Coffee Talk with Liquid Shano 1973 is because I would write my thoughts down in the morning when I had coffee. So I'd blog everything. I'd write down, having a bad day today, not really feeling it. This is where I'm at with it, to right-size my brain. And then what I started to do is I started to then translate the written part of it over to audio. When somebody said, dude, your voice, we need to get that on some platform somewhere for you to get there, because you speak well. You're eloquent with your words. You can really put your thoughts together. Put those thoughts that you have on paper, and let's bring it to audio. And once I did that, everything's kind of taken off from then.
You do have a made-for-broadcast voice, I must say.
Why, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, when I first met you, I thought you were a radio disc jockey.
Yeah, most people do.
Yeah. That's a real gift. Did your father have a voice like that? Yeah.
He did. Yeah, he was a musician in the Navy for 28 years. He played the piano and he sang, and it was He was an amazing musician, but his voice was, I think mine's a little bit lower. Like we would always, my stepmother would always say, Shane, you got him beat by the depth of the voice. But now my son, he's hitting that age now at 15 where it's starting to go, hey, Dad. Hey, Dad. I'm like, oh, no.
That must be funny. That's great.
Oh, it's funny.
So how can people get in touch with you? And more importantly, how can people get one of those avatars?
Yeah. So usually through TikTok, I with a friend of mine, he just gave me the push that I needed the other day. We were doing a live together. A good friend of mine, we do a YouTube show called Two Kitchen Tables and a Microphone. And basically we sit down and just talk about guys' perspective on life. Since COVID, we had to do it from afar. So we use StreamYard and we just get in a room together and we just kind of rap about stuff, whether it's food or struggles or, those kind of things. And he was the one that looked at me the other day and said, listen, these avatars are amazing. And what you're doing with it is amazing. Why aren't you bringing it to more than just TikTok? Like, get it out there on Facebook, put it on Instagram, what are you doing? So I just started to be able to incorporate that into Instagram and then through Facebook. So I'm getting a few orders from it that way too. But all people have to do is just reach out to me. There's a Venmo account. I call it my Venmo tip jar. And basically what they do is if you put $25 or more in the tip jar, I'll then create the avatar. All I'll ask you is a couple of your favorite colors, and then I'll ask you for maybe a good photo of yourself if you want me to be able to use so that one of your favorite photos or whatever. And then I incorporate the colors, the cartoon aspect of the photo. I put it together in a nice, perfect circle for you to use on any of your platforms, and you can just reach out to me and find out that way. So.
And you make people look good, too.
I do.
Oh, yeah. I think I like you make them look young and thin.
Oh, yeah. So it's funny. Usually it's usually based on the photo itself. But what I try to do is a lot of times, and I didn't realize that I was doing it as much when I use an iPad and I use Procreate and I use a Apple Pencil. And I go in, when I do the artwork and I bring the photo over, and then I start to color in the photo, it automatically kind of breaks down the wrinkles anyway. So wrinkles and blemishes or anything like that, it kind of gives you a young complexion without me even knowing that I was doing it. So for me, I was like, wow. And then that was the biggest compliment that I got from a lot of women, probably in their 50s, 60s, and even older, were like, listen, here's the deal. You made me feel like I was young again. Like, it's amazing. I'm using it on my Facebook. I'm using it and I'm like, wow, I just invested in them in that way. When I thought it was just a cool little catchy cartoon to do, I had no idea that I was impacting them that way. So now even guys are like, dude, you made me feel like younger and vibrant. And I'm like, holy smokes, I had no idea that was the impact was going to go this way. Remember how I said it's two-way impact?
Right.
This way, I had no idea it was going to make the impact that it was. I knew with the money and the financial part of it, with the servers and tips we're going to do, this way I had no idea it was going to impact someone's life that way. So I was like, wow, I'm a win-win combination with this one. So if people do want avatars, they can reach out to me. They can find me on Liquid Shano 1973. That's my Facebook page that you can find me on. I'm also at Liquid Shano 1973 on Instagram as well. And most of my social media platforms are under that same name. Now, TikTok is a little bit different. TikTok, I'm just Liquid Shano. That's all I am on there. But other than that, all you have to do is just reach out that way, and I'll get started on avatars.
Well, I'm definitely going to be ordering one of those right away.
You have a nice cartoon one, though, on yours. It's nice.
I do, but I want to have one of yours.
It's awesome.
Well, Shano, this has been so much fun, and yes. I'm really appreciative, and I'm glad that we were face-to-face, even though, we had to be cautious and careful. But
right.
It was nice to see you. And no,
it was great. It was great.
And I hope you'll come back again. I want
Absolutely.
to do it again.
I'd love to. It was great. I just think that, any way that we can get more of the message out there that people can just be positive and be kind, one action at a time for each other and just make an impact. I think that any way we can do it, let's do it, right? Whether it's through brand recognition, whether it's through trying to build a business, or whether it's just spreading positivity, it doesn't matter. Just go out there and be a positive influence. That's all we need to do in this world. We need it right now, so...
Totally.
Yep.
And on that note, I'm going to wish everybody in PR Maven a great day. And thank you, Shano, for coming.
No problem. Thank you.
That's it for this week's episode. I'd like to thank you for listening. And if you feel that you've gotten value out of today's conversation, consider leaving a 5-star review on iTunes or whatever app you're using to tune in. If you haven't subscribed yet, you should do so. I release a new episode each week, and subscribing will make sure you get an alert when there's a new episode. You can also join the PR Maven Nation by going to prmaven.com/nation and clicking join. It's free, and it's a great community of like-minded individuals who are all looking to learn and grow from one another. If you have an Alexa-enabled device, be sure to add the PR Maven Marketing Minute to your daily flash briefing menu. Thanks again for listening, and have a great rest of your week, PR Maven Nation.